This is John Kerry in the Senate, and he's telling the Senate that Qatar and Saudi Arabia have offered to pay for us to invade and overthrow Assad in Syria. You think I'm kidding? Here it is.
With respect to Arab countries offering to bear cost and to assist, the answer is profoundly yes, they have. That offer is on the table. With respect to boots on the ground, profoundly no. There will be no boots on the ground. The president has said that again and again, and there is nothing in this authorization that should contemplate it. And we reiterate, no boots on the ground. In terms of what do you do if it doesn't work, I think I'll let General Dempsey speak to the question of targeting, which he can't go into in detail. But we have absolute confidence that what our military undertakes to do, if it is ordered to do so, will degrade the capacity of Assad to use these weapons and serve as a very strong deterrence. And if it doesn't, then there are subsequent possibilities as to how you could reinforce that.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And the details on the offer and the proposal on the table, what are the figures that we're talking about?
Well, we don't know what action we're engaged in right now, but they've been quite significant. I mean, very significant. In fact, some of them have said that if the United States is prepared to go do the whole thing the way we've done it previously in other places, they'll carry that cost. That's how dedicated they are to this.
I don't know if you heard what John Kerry just said, that the Arab states have said that if we're willing to go in and do it alone like we've done in other places, meaning Kuwait, meaning Iraq, meaning Libya, if we're willing to go in and they'll bear the whole cost. So if we go in and overthrow Assad at the behest of Saudi Arabia and Qatar, they'll pay for it. That's what John Kerry just said. Nobody ever talks about that on the news. Nobody ever talks about that on CNN. They're certainly not going to tell you about it in the Washington Post, because the Washington Post owner has a $600 million deal with the CIA. And now you know why this Washington Post is such a shitty newspaper and why they always beat the drum for war. And when the Washington Post reports on the CIA or WikiLeaks or Syria, they're supposed to disclose that they have a $600 million deal with the deep state, and they don't. Why don't they? Because they're fucking lying to you. That's why. And they think you're suckers, and most of America is, and that's why the Washington Post still gets to print, even though they've lied us into war after war after war.
Yeah, so Jimmy, our foreign policy is dominated by the war. That's really what our foreign policy is about. And our domestic policy is dominated by Wall Street, okay?
Right.
There are other things, but those are the two main things. And of course, those are the two areas where we have a shocking deficiency in our journalism.
Yes.
We don't ask any interesting questions or any important questions when it comes to those two things. There's been some more on the domestic front because of the recent collapse and the recession. But on war, it is all cheerleading at all times. We never ask important questions like, why are we actually going there? It's always some sort of nonsense, reason like for freedom, for democracy, and all these, vague and ambiguous terms. And where are the journalists who are saying, no, I want real reasons why, who is profiting, let's follow the money, and that should be put on every one of our cable news shows every single day. There should be a counter on the screen counting up the number of days we've been in Afghanistan, the number of soldiers we've lost, and the amount of dollars that we spent. Have that up there all the time. If we did that, we would have an end to the war in Afghanistan.
We would.
We know, right?
Yeah.
Let's put up a counter that shows how much money we spend on these wars. One for Syria, one for Iraq, one for Libya, for all of this.
Afghanistan.
Let's do that. But we never do that. We never.
How are you going to pay for that? They never say that.
Isn't it so interesting that the only war images that we're allowed to show are images of Syrian babies allegedly gassed by Assad? So we must engage in more war, but we can't even show coffins of our soldiers.
Of our own soldiers.
Yeah.
They don't even allow that.
I mean, that is propaganda.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip of Aggressive Progressive, why not become a member of the TYT network and you can watch the whole hour. You know, we do a show every Thursday and then you can watch it live when it happens as a member, or you can watch it later at your convenience because you get access to the podcast of Aggressive Progressive and other ways to get a hold of it. There's lots of stuff. Come become a member at tytnetwork.com/join.